Okay, on my last video, there was some comments on Representative Paul Brown's comments, and then I got a. This is kind of interesting when you're on YouTube. You don't know who's watching, I mean, and I guess I should feel good to get 20 hits on my. It's pretty good to get 20 hits, right? 22, right? There's a guy from India that was watching the video apparently, and um, and he said that, "Hi, I'm from India. Politicians in my country, well, the less said the better. But I've never heard anyone say anything about evolution or something contradicting science in such an insane way. I cannot understand why in the most advanced and powerful country in the history of humanity people say such things. Also, Americans started as European settlers, so they should be similar, but no politician in Europe would ever say something like this." So referring to the Todd Aikens and the Paul Browns, and I responded, "Great point, Mumbai is his name. I hope that's how I pronounce it. Correct me if I'm wrong. We have some scientists in this country, even Dr. Francis Collins, one of the top geneticists, who believe in God. It seems like a contradiction. The cognitive dissonance would be very interesting to study scientifically." And in Mumbai, Khatri says, "I am an atheist, but I don't have a problem with people believing in God. The problem is that America is the only Western nation where politicians talk so openly about their religious beliefs. The only other people who do this are the Islamic jihadists. As I saw in a video by the Young Turks, if you replace the word Bible by Quran, what these fundamentalists are saying is virtually the same. Even if they want to establish a state based on the Holy Book. Anyway, Romney is now leading, so it might happen." So Romney is a little scary too, and I commented, I think Romney is scary too. Obama is the best we have, and he has vulnerabilities to please all the people all the time, but he's the best we have right now. So there it is. But thank you, Mumbai, for the comments. And as we're growing into the World Web here on the website, so on the YouTube, feel free to post your comments. And what I really enjoy about YouTube is you know. Seeing comments and interesting. There was a young man probably in his mid-20s talking about being the agnostic atheist. I thought that was interesting, and he did very eloquently talked about his doubts, and very honest, very intellectually honest is what I liked about it. You've got musicians. You got Jessica Frame, who's very talented, and thank you, Jessica, for your videos. So yeah, keep them coming. This is a fun world to be a part of, the YouTube world as it grows. And so what's in the news today? There's some world events, as you can imagine, international events. One of my favorite people, the late Christopher Hitchens, there's a column written today on Hitchens by Daryl Kite, who says that Hitchens never made a curious right turn, as many may have suggested. He says, "One of life's simple pleasures is having obligation-free Saturday mornings in which I rise late and enjoy a long brunch while devouring each section of a few Saturday papers. I was particularly pleased the morning of September 15th as Canadian philosopher Mark Kingwell had a review in the Globe and Mail of Christopher Hitchens' posthumously released Mortality, a book called Mortality, which I want to pick that up here soon. The book is a collection of Vanity Fair articles Hitchens wrote on the subject of mortality after his cancer diagnosis. The review contained many keen insights and whiffs of rhetorical brilliance I have come to expect from Kingwell. He suggests Hitchens had no equal in recent memory on public stages, although Kingwell disputes Richard Dawkins' assessment of Hitchens as the greatest orator of our time. Maybe a little bit of an exaggeration. But he was good. He was really good. Kingwell suggests Martin Amos's comparison to the IBM supercomputer Deep Blue was more accurate. Amos suggested Hitchens was an unbelievable wall of rhetorical force, deep speech, if you will. If you saw the way he wrote, I mean, the way he talked was very at a high level of vocabulary, and you really had to listen hard. But if you try to read his books, it's like 10 times harder than what he than speech. He combines so much stuff in one paragraph, and historical references. And I have never in my life encountered somebody that intelligent. I've never seen that before. Um, while the review was quite favorable, it contained a rather stinging criticism of Hitchens' support for the Iraq War. Kingwell suggests by my lights he was right about religion but wrong, disastrously, stupidly wrong about the invasion of Iraq. Now, Vanity Fair editor Graydon Carter appears to support Kingwell's assessment about Hitchens' Iraq war stance. Carter provides a short and largely flattering introduction to mortality, but includes the following statement about the attendees at Hitchens' memorial. The Bush administration was represented by former Deputy Defense Secretary Paul Wolfowitz, a remnant of the curious right from turn that Christopher took in his lead up to the Iraq war stance. Carter's comment about Hitchens' right turn is a blemish on an otherwise insightful introduction. One may ask how such a curious right turn was possible for a figure long associated with anti-totalitarian left, associated with Trotsky. The short answer is that it's not possible. So this might have been a contrarian position to incite debate, maybe. Maybe he really, deep down, was not a Bush conservative. I don't think he was. He couldn't be that superficial. Hitchens did not make a curious right turn at any point in his life and made it clear that the left had become a rather reactionary, ossified force that defended the status quo in Iraq. He suggested a rather sick pathology developed within the left that believed if someone disagreed with particular positions, it was for the lowest possible motives. He believed that the culture labeled anyone who disagreed with the left's doctrinaire positions as sellout. So interesting turns he took for debate purposes, I think. A lot of it was. Hitchens' position on Iraq was motivated by the same democratic principles as his stance toward the Falklands War. He believed intervention there would hasten the fall of the junta, which it did. He understood that Iraq was the property of Saddam Hussein prior to intervention, and such a regime was simply not compatible with democratic principles. Common sense would tell anybody that Hitchens had often suggested he did not abandon the left, but that the left abandoned principles for which it once stood. Characterizing Hitchens' defense of intervention to prevent massive human rights abuses as a right turn is baseless. Suggesting Hitchens was disastrously, stupidly wrong on Iraq and he made a curious right turn is simply oversimplifying the matter. Simply oversimplifying. So, anyway, Hitchens once suggested that Victorian England used Oscar Wilde as a public urinal for its own hypocrisy. It could also be said that much of the left has seized on Hitchens' Iraq position to use him as a public urinal for its hypocrisy. So when you try to oversimplify somebody like Hitchens, you get burned. You cannot oversimplify him at all. He was a complex character to the nth degree, and to try to simplify is just not a good idea. So a little bit of comments on Hitchens and my new YouTube friend from India, and just some quick headlines in the news. Remember the band Pussy Riot? Apparently a Russian court released the Pussy Riot member, and that controversy continues. That this band that taking a stance against Russia and making all the headlines and controversy and everything. And they are a rather vulgar band, but making apparently a political statement too within the vulgarity. Also, apparently the U.S. military's highest court is seeking arguments on whether the public should have access to written records in the court-martial of an Army private charged with giving reams of classified information to the secret sharing website WikiLeaks. So the WikiLeaks and its founder Julian Assange are still a very controversial. This I could do a whole video on Julian Assange and the WikiLeaks phenomenon. Is a fascinating phenomenon. It really is. And of course, watch the debates coming up tomorrow night. Is Joe Biden and Paul Ryan, and everybody thinks that Paul Ryan is this intellectual giant, and sorry, it's not going to be happening. I predict that Joe will clean his clock. Absolutely. Big win for Joe Biden, and it's going to be really fun to see. Maybe not quite as fun as Joe Biden and Sarah Palin, where Biden obviously used kid gloves against a kid. So there you go. Have a good day.